Welcome to episode 77 of EDH Commander Challenge. I'm your host, BT, and I have a question for you guys. When you're playing your favorite deck, or if you have multiples, one of your favorite decks, in general, what legendary creatures give you the most trouble? What generals make you sweat the most when you're playing against them? For the mad scientist Francis, it would probably be Kali of the Vast. For Mr. Gemi, Iona's Shield of Emeria. And for me, it's these two generals in today's episode. One that can steal all of your permanents with enough mana, and the other that can recycle cards to abuse and destroy you over and over again. That's right, Memnarch and Muldrotha. And we're going to pit those two decks against each other today in probably one of the craziest matches we've ever had here on the channel. A couple things to mention real quick before we get started. First, thank you so much to our subscribers, our family members. We are now over 880 subs. We're 88% of the way to our goal of 1,000 subscribers. And we're super close to 900. Thank you guys so much for your support. And I know really and truly it's only going to get better, especially with this week's upcoming 800 sub special that we're going to be filming later this week. Oh, I'm so excited. It's going to be great. Can't wait to show that to you guys. Probably be our next week's episode if all things go well. Now, without any further ado, let's show those opening hands and our players. Let's go. Before I introduce the opening hands here, a quick shout out to one of our family members. His name is Wesley. I believe it's Wesley Wren, who informed us of a huge error we made in the previous version of this episode, which was regarding the Future Sight and Omniscience combo. It's not a combo. It doesn't work because even though the original card says the card plays as though it's in your hand, the Oracle text in the card still just says you can play with the top card of your deck. So therefore, those two cards didn't work. So what we did is we reshot the video. We have a whole new version of the episode here for you right now. So once again, thank you, Wesley, for your help. And for the rest of you, I do apologize for us having to scrap the previous episode and remake this new one. But we're here at last, so let's introduce those hands. Starting with Gemi, of course, who's playing his Memnarch deck and keeps an opening hand with Swiftfoot Boots, Gilded Lotus, Dream Cache, Telling Time, Ancient Tomb, and 2 islands. And his opponent, Mark, is playing his Sultai style Muldrotha the Gravetide and keeps an opening hand with Fertile Ground, Sheoldred Whispering One, Reclamation Sage, Soul Ring, Blooming Marsh, a Forest, and a Swamp. Gemi won the die roll, and as a result, will start us off. Let's go! Gemi starts by playing Ancient Tomb and uses it, taking 2 damage, to cast Swiftfoot Boots, and passes. Mark plays Blooming Marsh and casts Soul Ring and passes. Gemi plays an island and casts Dream Cache, taking 2 more damage from his tomb and passes after resolving it. Mark plays a forest and casts Satyr Wayfinder. With its trigger, he gets some fodder into his graveyard, but sadly, no new lands. He then casts Fertile Ground on his forest so that it taps for 2 mana, and then he passes. Gemi plays an island and passes. For Mark's turn, he plays a swamp and casts Reclamation Sage, looking to destroy Gemi's boots. Gemi takes 2 damage again from his tomb and counters it with Exclude, also letting him draw a free card. Mark then moves into combat and pokes Gemi for 1. Then he passes. Gemi plays another island and casts Gilded Lotus. He takes 2 more damage from his tomb and passes. Mark casts his general, Muldrotha the Gravetide. Then he moves into combat and pokes Gemi again for 1. Then he plays another forest and passes. Gemi plays an Urza's Tower and casts his general, Memnarch, taking 2 more damage from his tomb. He then equips it with his Swiftfoot boots and passes to Mark. For Mark's turn, he starts to put his general to good use by casting Reclamation Sage from his graveyard, and he uses it to destroy Gemi's Swiftfoot boots. Then Mark pulls a Captain Ginyu and casts Gilded Drake, exchanging control of it with Gemi's Memnarch. #ouch. He then plays another forest and passes, completely forgetting to attack, however. For Gemi's turn, he takes another 2 damage from his tomb to cast Sky Diamond. Then he moves into combat and attacks Mark with his Drake for 3. Then he passes the turn. During Mark's upkeep, Gemi casts Cyclonic Rift, bouncing most of Mark's field to his hand and reclaiming his Memnarch. During his main phase, Mark casts Chromatic Lantern to fix any mana issues, and then recasts his Soul Ring, Fertile Ground, and Reclamation Sage, destroying Gemi's Lotus before passing the turn. Gemi wants to recast Memnarch, but worried that Mark may have another removal spell, he simply passes the turn. For Mark's turn, he recasts his Satyr Wayfinder, getting more graveyard fodder, and adds Overgrown Tomb to his hand, which he then plays untapped, taking 2 damage. Then he recasts his general, Muldrotha, but Gemi counters it with Put Away, which also allows him to shuffle his Cyclonic Rift back into his deck. Mark moves Muldrotha back to his command zone. Then he casts Nihil Spellbomb, which Gemi also counters with Unwind, taking 2 more damage from the tomb before untapping 3 lands. Then Mark passes. For Gemi's turn, he plays an island and casts Telling Time. Then casts Compulsive Research, taking 2 more damage from his tomb, letting him draw 3 cards, and in this case he discards 2. He then casts Soul Ring. Then he moves into combat and attacks with his Drake, dealing 3 more damage to Mark. Then he passes. For Mark's turn, he casts Sheoldred the Whispering One. Then he moves into combat and attacks Gemi with his Satyr and Sage for 3 damage. Then he passes. During his upkeep, Gemi is forced to sacrifice the Drake thanks to Sheoldred. He then casts Blue Sun Zenith for 3, drawing 3 cards and taking 2 more damage from his tomb. He then casts Mana Vault, followed by Thran Dynamo, and then he passes. During his end step, Mark casts Entomb, placing Sidisi Undead Vizier from his deck to the graveyard. During Mark's upkeep, Sheoldred brings Sidisi into play, exploiting the Reclamation Sage in the process. This allows him to tutor out a card from his deck to his hand, which turns out to be Pernicious Deed. During his main phase, he casts said Pernicious Deed, and immediately sacks it where X is 2, destroying a good portion of cards on the field where Gemi takes the bigger loss. Mark then plays an island and moves into combat and attacks Gemi for 6 with Sheoldred. Then he passes. For Gemi's turn, he casts Kega the Tidestar and passes. During Mark's upkeep, his Sheoldred trigger brings Gilded Drake back to play, which he uses to exchange control of it with Gemi's Kega. He then moves into combat and attacks Gemi with Sheoldred and Sidisi. Gemi blocks Sheoldred with his Drake and takes 4 from Sidisi. Then Mark passes the turn. Gemi plays a Worn Power Stone in tapped and passes. During his upkeep, Mark's Sheoldred trigger brings him an Avenger of Zendikar that comes into play with 7 plant tokens. Although this doesn't really matter at this point, as once he enters into combat, Mark attacks with all of his creatures and is able to finish off Gemi for the solid win. Here are my choices for this week's cardboard MVP. For Gemi, it's hard to say as he wasn't able to show off much of his deck's power here, but his Swiftfoot Boots was good in the sense that it forced Mark to play a 2-card combo to be able to remove Memnarch from being a threat to him. As for Mark, I definitely have to say Gilded Drake. The card was absolute hot fire, allowing him to steal both Memnarch and Kega in the course of that game. And when combined with his Sheoldred, Gemi had very little ways of being able to keep a useful creature at his side without it being replaced by this really interesting Drake. Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments down below. Alright guys, that's it for this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed watching. Just want to let you know, if you aren't already part of our ever-growing EDHCC family and you want to join in on the fun, make sure you smash the subscribe button and the notification bells down below, and you'll know every single time a new video drops. Now we do videos every single week. Don't forget as well to like them, share them, comment on them, but most importantly, enjoy them. Shout out to all of our family members, our subscribers, our viewers, if you will. It is an honor and a privilege to do this each and every week, and you joining on the fun with us. Until next time, I'm your host, BT, reminding you to check out all of the videos on the channel. Join our game. It's now your turn. Cheers!